Greetings, my fellow freedom lovers and sovereign thinkers. Welcome to this news podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful swamp in South Florida. And today's date is Saturday, June 15th, 2019. So let us begin. Good day, folks. Hopefully everyone's doing well. And I'm at a Whole Foods supermarket on Northeast 20th Street in US 1 in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Owned by Amazon. It's like Spreaker. I just found this out. So, we're all part of the Amazon family, technically. But, however, they need me more than I need them, and I say that out of love. Well, I just decided, I'm going to been looking at I'm a subscriber to American Free Press, and I know I've been checking out some of the articles, which is some real good stuff that came out. They'll come out weekly. And I will leave a link on there with some of the titles. And if you subscribe to it, that'd be awesome because they are a very good, memorable website and all that good stuff. You can get it. You can get a digital print, regular print, or both. And it's worth the cause because we got a lot of corporate controlled Orwellian newspaper industries out there. They're trying to grasp what they can hold. However, now with the technology, people are countering and questioning and being more critical, which is very good. And America Free Press is in that same line of fire. They're trying to shut them down, accuse them of being racist. Even Charlton organizations like the Southern Poverty Law Center calls them racist, white supremacists, and so forth, which is completely irrelevant. All you gotta do is understand everyone's side of the story, observe responsibly, and make your own judgments. So I'm going to be reading stuff from this article, which, like I said, and this one just came out, so I got it yesterday, and this is really cool. This is volume 19, number 25 and 26 for the week of June 17th and 24th. It came out, yesterday, and this is a good thing about what's happened about Riot Act Razed. Okay, and it says a federal judge strikes down anti-riot act as unconstitutional due in part to efforts of fledgling Freedom Expression Foundation, which is amazing here. It says here, in the stinging defeat for the hard left and its media enablers and collaborators at the momentous victory for constitutional liberty on June 3rd, federal district judge Cormac Carney granted the defense motion to dismiss the indictment. The Justice Department's highly political prosecution and California member of the Rise Above Movement, or RAM, is an acronym for that, under the Federal Anti-Riot Act. In a solidly reasoned opinion, Carney struck down the Anti-Riot Act as unconstitutional, ordered the defendant's immediate release. The RAM members brought into the courtroom in shackles were unshackled and walk away free men. While primary credit must go to the hardworking defense counsel, the Freedom of Expression Foundation, or FEF, played an important role providing legal analysts to the defense and submitting an amicus curiae brief that Carney, over the government's opposition, accepted for filing. In short, right out of the gate of FEF has had a major victory for free speech for all Americans. As explained in a recent AFP article on April 8, 2019, the U.S. government's attempted rival of the long-dormant Anti-Riot Act poses a threat to Americans' First Amendment rights. The act improperly criminalizes mere intent alone, is in manifest discord with recent Supreme Court decisions, is flagrantly overbroad, and gives far too much discretion to the government to enforce it selectively on purely political grounds. And selective enforcement is precisely what happened in the RAM on prosecutions. The government, bending to political pressure, averted its eyes from clear evidence that Antifa groups attacked and disrupted pro-Trump rallies in California and the Charlottesville Assembly. Of the hundreds of rowdy people at the rallies. Only 8 RAM members were charged by the government. Interesting there. To Charlottesville. I know one thing. Thomas Jefferson's grave is lit up with the torch of freedom and liberty. That was his hometown. They're going to use this blasphemous prosecution on certain individuals. Well, all hell broke loose. And many of them are hired guns from both sides, folks. I examined that video when all that broke out from CNN. It was designed to fail. Like I'll say before, the people that were injured and one that died, blood's on the hands of the government of Virginia and the city of Charlottesville. Because they had their officers stood down. In addition, Charlottesville breached the permit, which is violating the contract. They are responsible for what happened in that horrific event. That's how I look at it, and I don't even care who's involved or participated. Even they're a bunch of wackos for all I care, but all these charlatan movements. But I will continue on here. Carnegie began his opinion observing, it's easy to champion free speech when advocates a viewpoint with which we agree. It is much harder when the speech promotes ideas that we find apparent. But an essential function of free speech is to invite dispute. Speech may may indeed best serve its high purpose when it induces a condition of unrest, creates dissatisfaction with conditions as they are, or even stirs people to anger. Terminello versus City of Chicago, 1949. Frequently, the public arena is a stage for these disputes. In the Civil Rights era, for instance, protesters took to the streets to contest segregation and Jim Crow. Today, people continue to take their message to the streets, advocating to hotly contested issues, whether it be abortion, Black Lives Matter, climate change, or health care. One person's protest might be another person's riot. Then carefully analyze the act. He noted, the act covers far more than acts of violence. It also criminalizes activities that precede any violence and reaches speech and expressive conduct. No violence even need occur. A defendant could be convicted for renting a car with a credit card, posing a political rally on Facebook, or texting friends about when to meet up. Carney then identified a critical failing of the act in manifest discord with Brandenburg versus Ohio, 1969, and other Supreme Court precedents. It does not require that advocacy may be directed toward inciting or producing imminent lawless action. He observed, a riot is closely intertwined with political activity. A rioting crowd is often protesting the policies of a government, an employer, or some other institution, or the social fabric in general. A riot may well erupt out of an original peaceful demonstration. The political nature of a riot increases the risk that the Anti-Riot Act criminalizes a substantial amount of protected expressive activity. To protect citizens' important rights of speech and assembly, courts must wary of government's attempts to censor a particular view, especially on the basis that certain ideas causes disturbances. New ideas more often than not create disturbances, and to this, speech may best serve its high purpose. Attorneys Andrew Allen and Glenn Allen, who acted on behalf of FEF in this matter, were jubilant about this decision. The act is flagrantly unconstitutional, Glenn Allen remarked, and the fact that the government invoked it against only RAM members and not Antifa's call into question the government's fairness and impartiality. Thank God there is still sufficient integrity in our judicial system to check such abuses. Glenn Allen also notes that the FBI and Justice Department relied heavily on reports from ProPublica and the Frontline documentary in preparing the indictment and ignored the more balanced, hefty report. Although the California Ram defendants are now free, the Charlottesville Ram defendants unfortunately remain in prison. Judge Norman K. Moon in the Charlottesville prosecution in a prior decision on May 2, 2019 had upheld the constitutionality of the Anti-Riot Act. So, it still has to continue. Free speech is more important than your feelings. And even Frederick Douglass says it best. Suppressing free speech is a double wrong. Not just for the hearer, but for the speaker as well. Look it up. As a black man, by the way. So I'm not being a white supremacist. Okay? So don't even go there, folks. For the first time viewers. The listeners that knew me for a long time understand where I come from. But this is fantastic on that part. But the battle still continues. To preserve free speech is a natural right. No exception. And just to let you folks know, why did he have this on a federal level, for goodness sakes? It should be under the Commonwealth of Virginia. And there's a big federal overreach. Okay? According to Federalist Papers 46, written by James Madison. Look it up, folks. I don't make this stuff up. So the battle still continues for freedom of speech. The only way to counter the charlatans' opposition is let freedom ring, not suppress it by any means, because one day it can affect you, and that's the damn truth. And now, and just to let you folks know, there is a donation drive to support Freedom of Expression Foundation. Donations are very good, so you can pursue with them. They're based out of Oprah, Maryland, just like American Free Press. So that's fantastic. So what I'm going to do here is hit another one. So I'm going to hit a few articles within this site, which some may caught my eye. And let me see here. I'm gonna see. I'm going to hit next. Got stuff on tariffs that I'm working. Hey, let's just check. Okay, I know about the bigot thing. I talk about that, about what happened at Oberlin College. And let me see. I'm just like browsing through here, folks. So. This one here is by John Friend. People revolt against NWO. Mass immigration, failure, globalism behind Europe's recent nationalist resurgence. This is what John Friend has to say. A nationalists and populists across Europe made tremendous gains in the recent European Union elections, demonstrating the appeal of these highly demonized political ideologies in an era of an economic and political globalization, massive third world immigration to the continent, an increasingly out-of-touch elite political class ruling in Brussels, determined to push European integration at all costs. Club of Rome 101 to be exact. Even traditionally left-wing parties, such as the Socialist Democrats in Denmark, have taken a more populist approach on issues like immigration. Mette Frederiksen, the 41-year-old leader of the Denmark Social Democrats, whose party recently won 25.9% of the votes in the Danish election, has increasingly pushed her party to the right on the key issues of a massive third world migration into Europe, a top issue for many Danish voters. Frederiksen has addressed the issues in more traditionally left-wing terms, arguing that globalization and massive immigration have harmed the middle and working classes of Denmark and other European nations. For me, it is becoming increasingly clear that the price of unregulated globalization, mass immigration, and the freedom movement of labor is paid for by the lower classes. Fredrickson stated in a recent biography. Fredrickson's Social Democrats have long played a key role in Danish politics, working with more right-leaning parties, including the Danish People's Party, which is seen by many as the most far-right party in the country on key issues such as immigration. Social Democrats in Denmark have supported policies that crack down on refugees, resettlement, and unchecked migration positions the traditionally left-leaning party formally opposed. Fredrickson has argued that SD parties in the European countries must adopt a more hardline stance on immigration, which poses a major threat to their traditional voter base, middle and working-class Europeans. For years, we have underestimated the challenges of mass immigration. Fredrickson argued at the meeting of Social Democrat parties around Europe late last year. Economic policy and foreign policy in Europe have been too liberal. We have failed when it comes to maintaining the social contract, which is the very foundation of the Social Democratic social model. The positions on immigration taken by Fredrickson and other populists across Europe stand in stark contrast to the elites in Brussels, who view massive immigration and spreading the diversity as moral imperatives that must be championed and implemented across the continent. Outgoing European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker, epitomizing in the mindset of the nation-wrecking globalist elites that have largely dominated the European Union and broader project of European integration, harshly criticized the various populist and nationalist movement and leaders that have come to the fore of European politics, particularly in recent years, as Euroscepticism has risen across the continent. These populist, nationalists, and stupid nationalists, they are in love with their own country and they don't like the others, Juncker arrogantly and dismissively stated in an interview with CNN shortly before the recent European elections. In some countries of the European Union, the government, parliament, major parts of society don't like those coming from far away. I don't like those coming from far away because the main guiding principle of the European Union should be solidarity. We have to act in solidarity with those who are in worse situations than we are. Many Europeans are beginning to view the suicidal mindset of Juncker and other EU elites as entirely contrary to the interests of their respective nation states, which have seen massive third world immigration, rising crime and instability, and a total failure on the part of the European Union. So that would be it, right? European Union, yep. Providence. European Union, hold on here, sorry about that, folks. Institutions and government. Yeah, European Union. Wait, yeah, I got this right. Sometimes the newspapers here can be a little bit confusing. Failure on the European Union, institutions and governments, and actual integration of various newcomers into the EU. Many European nations such as France, Germany, Sweden, and the United Kingdom have seen a tremendous influx of so-called refugees, asylum seekers, and other third world immigrants, resulting in protracted cultural, social, and economic problems across the continent. So-called new Europeans have largely failed to successfully integrate into European society, preferring instead of clinging to their national and ethics identities, which has contributed to polarization of society, a fact political leaders like Fredrickson have long recognized. In my eyes, it is neither heroic nor humane to bring so many people here that the problems become huge in our country. The leader of Denmark's Social Democrats declared before the 2015 election, because we're not very good at integrating in Denmark, and there's nothing to indicate that we're going to get better. In Italy, a small town of Riot in the southern province of Calabria recently elected a right-wing government after having been dominated by radical leftists for years. The town, long known as the Global Village, whose former political leadership openly welcomed migrants, took in hundreds of refugees and other third-world migrants in recent years, sparking a backlash following reported allegations of corruption, fraud, and unrest among the migrant population. The problem is that we have too many migrants and we lost the spirit of openness. There was initially Antonio Trifoli, the newly elected mayor and former town policeman, stated in a recent interview. Trifoli is affiliated with the Italian populist Matteo Salvini and his Lega Nord party, which has seen a dramatic increase in popularity and political clout in recent elections. A whole economic system developed with the migrants, but without making the village dynamic again, Trifoli said. The model destroyed itself. The clash between globalism and populism continues on the European continent, and at this point, it is safe to say populism is on the rise, largely because of disastrous effects of globalism. This is what happens when you have globalists running foreign policy for these nations, attacking other third world countries for personal lust and their resources, and their way of saying, okay, we're going to make it up. Go over there. Go to the ones that the countries bombed you. Those nations that they bombed your land. That's just part of it, folks. And of course, you have a lot of people with criminal intents. They go in there as well. It's nothing new. It's more of an ethical thing. The fact is this, folks. When you go to other places, you got to learn to adapt their culture, learn their language, and so forth if you're going to live there. No handouts, no freebies, etc. I don't care if you're whiter than me with the same surname. It's ethics. And that's what's been happening. It happened over here as well. It's one thing about the Club of Rome. They want this stuff. They want people clashing with each other. A lot of these migrants, like many of them, are just political pawns. A good example of what happened to Libya. You can say whatever about Gaddafi, but you know what? It's a lot worse. They're being bombarded. But that's okay. It's exceptional, right? But when it comes to these areas, like areas when they go across the Mediterranean to escape the oppression, and they go to places like Italy and France and so forth, and they get crapped on, it's nothing new. Because I've never seen one documentary I've seen. It's called Heavy Metal in Baghdad, and the band, the Iraqi metal band from Baghdad, went to Syria, and they were treated like garbage too. So, and it's not good. That's why everyone in the world should call out globalism, the Club of Rome, the New World Order. Because they don't give a damn about any of us. They want the innocent people to fight amongst each other, point their fingers, while they sit back and laugh. Now, you gotta study what happened with Ceausescu in Romania. He did that. And you know what? The people figured it out pretty damn quick, and it blew back at him and his wife's face. They died for their actions, for treason. And it was all broadcast on Romanian television. We gotta stop nation building. It's absurd for personal gain. That's the problem. Like the United States and Britain, foreign policies are horrendous. Even France as well. Macron's not all that. He's horrible. So that's one of those areas you have to really look at. And one of those things got to be clear. You got to say yes to a republic and no to an empire. I give the thumbs up to the populist movement and nationalist movement. I'm not saying Adolf Hitler either. But the fact is this. People want to preserve their heritage and honor it. But the order wants it the other way around. Alright. I'll be right back, so stay tuned. Alright, so we're going to hit this one here. It's about this article. Let's talk about the Bilderbergs and all that as well. And Jared Kushner was one of the participants too. And of course we got, we had a war criminal Henry Kissinger, and many others, which I recommend you get the article. But this is one of the areas I want to look at here. It's written by John Friend. This is here, LA faces historic crisis. And as it reads here, homelessness has long been a major problem in California, the most populous state in the union, which ironically boasts one of the nation's largest and most robust economies, yet has the highest poverty rate. In recent years, however, it's become increasingly clear that the homelessness problem in major California cities, particularly Los Angeles metropolitan area, is a full-blown crisis that is threatening public health and sanitation in a way perhaps never seen before. Homelessness, poverty, and staggering income disparities, common features of third world countries, are on full display in major cities in California such as Los Angeles, San Diego, and San Francisco. According to a recent homelessness survey conducted annually in Los Angeles County, roughly 59,000 people are living without shelter across the most populous county in the country on a daily basis. That number is up just from another 53,000 in last year's survey, despite an increase in taxpayer-supported funding for public assistance aimed at combating homelessness. At this point of unprecedented wealth in the county of Los Angeles, we are equally confronted with the unprecedented poverty manifesting itself in the form of homelessness. The county supervisor, Mark Riley Thomas, recently told the Los Angeles Times, last year's count, we felt we were trimming in a way that would suggest we were getting our arms around this, and yet we are pretty well stunned by this data. Homelessness encampments can be found across Los Angeles County under freeways and overpasses in public parks and wooded areas, and along the sidewalks of downtown Los Angeles and other major cities in the county. Trash, discarded furniture, and other large household items and piles of rubbish, debris, and human waste litter the city as garbage and sanitation crews struggle to keep up with the waste. In certain areas of downtown Los Angeles, entire city streets have been consumed with trash, feces, and other debris, some of which is illegally dumped by local businesses and industrial facilities. The city of Los Angeles has become a giant trash replica, Los Angeles Times columnist Steve Lopez recently wrote, arguing that residents are witnessing the collapse of a city that's lost control. Heaps of trash, debris, discarded items, and other waste are common features in Los Angeles, particularly in the downtown area. Skid Row, a notorious section of downtown known for its large homeless population and surrounding areas, are in some cases literally covered in garbage and waste, with countless homeless individuals camping and sleeping on the street. Piles of trash and waste are magnets for fleas, flies, rats, and other rodents, leaving areas residents fearful for the health or well-being that of their family and neighbors. I can't walk down the street without thinking that a flea could jump on me. Estella Lopez, who works downtown, told NBC4 Los Angeles recently. Many fear a public health crisis is underway with diseases such as tuberculosis, typhus, and other contagious diseases common to the third world countries showing up in California. Our homeless crisis is increasingly becoming a public health crisis, California Governor Gavin Newsom declared his State of the Union earlier this year. Typhus, a medieval disease in California in 2019. Disease is spreading largely due to the homeless crisis, as the garbage attracts disease-spreading vermin. Not only those struggling with homelessness lack basic shelter and sanitary living conditions, but they also lack reliable access to health services, restrooms, and regular showers. Janice Hahn, who sits on the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors, stated that area residents are seeing more encampments, more people sleeping on the sidewalks in dirty, unhealthy, and heartbreaking conditions. They are frustrated by this problem. She declared, we need to give people answers. Unfortunately, answers and solutions to the homeless crisis are difficult to come by despite increasing levels of public and private money being directed at tackling the problem. Measure H, an initiative passed by Los Angeles voters in 2017 that added a quarter-cent to local sales taxes to fund programs designed to address the homelessness crisis, has raised close to $400 million annually, yet the situation only seemed to be spreading. Interesting, huh? So who's actually pocketing the money, for goodness sakes, allegedly speaking? Many argue the driving force is housing affordability. California has some of the highest real estate prices in the country, and modest apartments or townhouses are often exceedingly expensive even for working households. Additionally, substance abuse, mental illness, and other social problems exacerbate the crisis, with many living on the streets, addicted to drugs or alcohol, and seemingly uninterested in rehabilitation. This reporter is a resident of Los Angeles County. Ken Percy testified that the situation is out of control and shows no signs of abating. Cleaning up the county will be a major task for any elected official and will no doubt require a joint public-private partnership to ensure lasting results. That's a real shame indeed. And there's times too you got government are just not more than taxaholics, want to spike everything up. And you got folks out there that screw around all their lives, don't want to learn any skills, they want things handed to them. And you got others who are working 2 or 3 jobs, they can't have a roof over their head. That's disturbing. And they have over-regulations, neo-mercantilism, and all that good stuff over there as well. That's a problem. Of course, fiat currency money as well. It's a lot more complex than what I'm stating. I see it's out here in Fort Lauderdale, Miami as well. I let these people know you don't sleep on the damn sidewalks. Show some class. I hear too many excuses. I know community courts in Fort Lauderdale are trying to take the initiative on trying to help these individuals, but they got to do it, help themselves. We all got issues, even myself. I live in a camper, for goodness sakes. I can take responsibility for my actions. I can admit that. But I live in better conditions. Okay, and compared to I see others out there, good grief, I'm very damn blessed. I'm not here to mope about my problems. In due time, I'll get out of it for sure. I got that faith in me. Well, here's the things folks got to look at. You know, sometimes you gotta reach out to them. Do it one at a time. Say, hey, you want a job? Talk to these people once in a while. I do it. I do have discussions with some of these individuals, but not bad people. But many of them now, there's people younger than me out in the damn streets. That's infuriates me the most. And family structure too has been crippled by oppression. Not just with themselves, but outside governmental agencies too. A lot of them, you got criminal elements in there as well. Like to see this. You know, always beware too with the occupy zones. Always got to be careful with that. They may use this in places like Los Angeles. It's a perfect testing ground. And I had talked about that in my show a while back. You can look it up yourself. But this is very disturbing. And all those folks out there, if you want to help those, if you want to be helped, you got to start with yourself. And build from there. There's people out there that do give a damn. Remember that. Never give up. All right. So, this one here is good. This is another good article. It says here, for free speech once again. YouTube Inquisitors demolish history. is by Dr. Kevin Barrett. During the first week of June, YouTube announced a draconian new censorship policy and immediately erased and demonetized the work of countless video makers, destroying thousands of livelihoods in the process. Conservatives are more burnt on the onslaught. New policy was unveiled in the wake of a highly publicized spat between conservative YouTuber Steve Crowder and Vice News commentator Carlos Meza, in which Meza accused Crowder of bullying and homophobia. Although justified by liberal Silicon Valley oligarchs as a response to the racism, sexism, and homophobia of the alt-right, YouTube's new censorship plan begins with garden variety of political correctness and ends in the wholesale falsification of history. In a June 5th blog post announcing the new policy, YouTube wrote, "Today we're making another step in our hate speech policy by specifically prohibiting videos alleging that a group is superior in order to justify discrimination, segregation, or exclusion based on qualities like age, gender, race, caste, religion, sexual orientation, or veteran status. This would include, for example, videos that promote or glorify Nazi ideology, which is inherently discriminatory. Finally, we will remove content denying that well-documented violent events like the Holocaust or the shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary took place." Okay, so critical thinking is considered very sensitive to the Google-owned YouTube. The first two sentences sound like a well-meaning but maddeningly muddled mishmash of liberal platitudes. Taken at face value, YouTube is telling us we cannot allege that adults are intellectually superior to children and that children should therefore be segregated or excluded from busy streets, or that 20-year-olds are more physically vigorous than retirees and should be excluded from over 60 basketball leagues, age discrimination, or that men are physically stronger than women and should therefore be excluded from women's athletics, gender discrimination, anti-LGBTQ discrimination, or poorer people and groups being in general less capable in intellectual and practical matters than wealthier people and groups should be given various advantages like free college tuition as part of a policy or reducing inequality, race and caste discrimination, or that veterans have been willing to risk their lives for the country deserve special benefits, pro-veterans discrimination. While the first two sentences of YouTube's new policy are unintentionally humorous, veterans, really? There's nothing remotely funny about the next. Finally, we remove content denying that the well-documented violent events like the Holocaust or the shooting at Sandy Hook took place. This statement, framed in such a way as to make it sound acceptable to the misinformed multitudes as truly Orwellian. Absolutely. The history is a human construction. It is inherently fallible. It is constantly being revised on the basis of new evidence and the interpretation. And the statement includes mention of literally millions of violent events, a great many of which are well documented, in the sense there are plenty of documents available relating to any given event. What YouTube apparently doesn't understand is that virtually all violent and non-violent events in history are documented in complex and contradictory ways, can be interpreted from a wide variety of perspectives. So how does all that evidence and all those interpretive perspectives get narrowed down to a relative simple narrative about what supposedly happened in a given event? We like to imagine that smart, objective historians sift through evidence and argue about the most plausible interpretations. That is the ideal. Reality is closer to the old age. History is written by the victors. The most powerful people and groups wield various carrots and sticks, forcing the vast majority of historians to consciously and or unconsciously toe to the official line. The powerless and their versions of events are reviled, misconstrued, or consigned to the probable memory hole. Left-wing historians once knew this and openly admitted it. In fact, while I was doing graduate work during the modernists dominate 1990 actually exaggerate the degree to which truth is unknowable in history. It's just a myth inflicted by the powerful on the powerless. But then came 9/11, which was designed by people like Philip Zelikow, a self-proclaimed specialist in the creation of maintenance of public myths. 9/11 was a scripted and staged human sacrifice event of the kind studied by ethnologist Renee Gugonin. Part of its purpose was to re-mythologize history so the common people could once again be force-fed noble lies. In medieval Europe, if you denied the official version of certain mythic violent events, the crucifixion, the Cathar genocide, or the Inquisition itself, you could be tortured and burnt at the stake. With the Enlightenment came the modern disciple of history, which, fallible as it is, offers a better path to truth, the path of absolutely free and fearless debate. In the wake of the mythic big lie of 9/11, the Enlightenment has been revoked. YouTube is killing heretics by destroying their livelihoods. Internet censorship is today's Inquisition. Yes, indeed, my friends. Very Orwellian, New World Order 101. This is very apparent and treasonous. Not just to the nation, people of this nation, but worldwide. Biggest mistake Google made. One of them, these big techs, trying to crunch everything, dilute it, and have us be part of the dumb, stagnant, and happy plantation. Technocratic plantation, to be exact. But in due time, it will backfire. It is backfiring on them. There's an investigation of antitrust. And don't get me wrong, Google is one of the prime suspects of this case. And that's why a person like myself is now going to look at further areas, decentralized sites, etc. Because when it comes down to it, without us, they are nothing. All these big tech social media sites. They need us more than we need them. Remember that. And there's plenty of other areas, including myself, looking into more. And everyone else should follow through. Alright, I'm going to do one more here, my friends. And this one here is in reference to Johnny Boy Bolton, the glamorous neocon palmolivist. He loves talking about war, but afraid to get his hands dirty because he's just a rhetorical wuss. This is what S.T. Patrick has to say. 5 reasons to fire Bolton. Trump should send his warmonger national security advisor packing. Actually, he should have him packing, take him to the front line of battle. If he wants to go to war with Iran, take him to the front line. That would be fantastic. Let's see how tough this sap is. This is what he has to say. John Bolton has proven that there still exists in politics a place where the absurd would be comical if we're not so dangerous. His newly created label for international supervillainy in the trochee of tyranny once again illustrates why Bolton should be fired from his position as national security advisor. Bolton is a danger to the safety and security of the nation he has pledged to protect. In 1964, political satire Dr. Strangelove parodied the war hawks that continually beat the drums of battle in an effort to enrich the military-industrial complex that President Eisenhower created and then criticized. Those are the days of General LeMay, Lemaitre, and Taylor, all dangerous to anyone desired to a peaceful post-World War II existence. In 1989 fall, the Berlin Wall changed that and ended the reactionary tendencies of Cold War tensions, or so it was thought. The globalist interventionists who ushered in President George Herbert Walker Bush's New World Order have directed foreign policy since 9/11. Bolton is chief among those still active in politics. There are valid reasons to demand that President Donald Trump fire Bolton before he completely derails any hope Trump has of making America great again, at least internationally. 1. The troika of tyranny, as if the administration hadn't stretched the interventionism strategy thin enough. Bolton looked southward. Trump up new battlefields in Venezuela, Cuba, and Nicaragua. This troika of tyranny is no more serious than George W. Bush's axis of evil, Ronald Reagan's evil empire, or Winston Churchill's Iron Curtain, before billions of dollars can be poured into covert coup d'etats, Pentagon propaganda, and fruitless exercises of military might. The targets must be set up as boogeymen out to ruin the American way of life. 2. The itch to bomb Iran and North Korea. Bolton was Dick Cheney's first choice when the UN ambassadorship became available in 2005 because Bolton favors swift military action in Iran. He has never wavered on a position that has long favored preemptive strikes against both Iran and North Korea. 3. A terrorist around every corner. In Bolton's words, every country disagreeable with U.S. foreign and economic policy is a terrorist state in need of toppling. From Bolton's Turkey to Iran, Iraq, Libya, and Syria, nations looking to guide their futures independently without American coercion, are breeding grounds for terrorism, which today means nations tired of seeing Americans with guns and pointing at them in their own countries. 4. A bully Trump can respect. Jose Bustani, a Brazilian diplomat, was once the head of the Organization for Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, or OPCW, in 2001. Rosanti received a thank you note from Secretary of State Colin Powell for negotiating a deal with Saddam Hussein to allow OPCW weapons inspectors into Iraq. The problem was that nuclear danger and the refusal of inspectors were the pretext on which the Bush administration's hopes for war were pinned. In 2002, 1 year before the American invasion of Iraq, Bolton was sent to The Hague to speak with Bustani, who has been unanimously reelected to his OPCW post. Cheney wants you out, Bolton told Bustani. We can't accept your management style. You have 24 hours to leave our organization, and if you don't comply with the decision by Washington, we have ways to retaliate against you. Bustani sat dumbfounded as Bolton paused. Bolton looked at Bustani directly once again and finished. We know where your kids live. You have 2 sons in New York. This is the kind of anti-hero tough talk that Trump respects. But does the world? Bolton alone, as a significant spoke in the Cheney wheel, has spent decades damaging the American reputation abroad. He is the ugly American stereotype so bandied about in foreign literature and film. 5. The face of American hypocrisy. Bolton is the face of what liberal and libertarian foreign policy analysts see as the hypocritical policies of American foreign policy. While challenging that American can be tried in international criminal courts, he favors unfriendly African leaders being tried in the same courts. He favors stronger nuclear inspection policies around the globe, but then says that any random international inspections to American nuclear sites will threaten the security of the country. When the Russian hacking story first broke, Bolton called it an act of war. Again, pulling the war card from his pocket quicker than the Vegas whale. When he was chosen for an appointment to the Trump administration, it had become a witch hunt. He also favors on-site American monitoring of foreign elections, which he, of course, does not see as an act of war. The fact of the matter is that Bolton should have never been in a position within Trump's administration. Trump campaigned against a deep state entity that he swore was working against his campaign. Yet after his election, he began replacing his original nominees with career status bent on expanding America's military reach. It may be that Bolton appeals to Trump's worst political instincts, the rigid ideologue who talks tough and threatens tougher. Bolton may also be one of the few who morphs Trump's tirades and tongue lashings into tangible policies. Dangerous, costly policies, but policies nonetheless. It is because Bolton bends Trump's worst reflex outbursts into hawkish, neoconservative benchmarks that he remains a danger to the country and should be put out of the administration. That's being too nice, with all due respect. He should be indicted, be investigated for war crimes. RICO. Yeah, RICO? Absolutely. That was a very good example. War crimes in RICO. This man is nothing more than a coward, as far as I'm concerned. All talk, no action. He's one of the most contemptuous jackasses we have. Never worry about Donald Trump? These are the people you should be focusing on. And all you Trump worshippers to do the same thing. Bolton is nothing more than a globalist douchebag. And I say that in good faith and on principle. Never amazes me. You know, when he got hired, like I said, when he got hired, I was just totally dumbfounded. Yeah, Bolton should be investigated by a federal grand jury because he's nothing more than a piece of garbage. Benedict Arnold is a lot more patriot than this stooge. Prove me wrong, Bolton, and your worshiping lackeys, because you know one thing, you have no merit. And I'm damn well, I'm not afraid to say it to you in person. Plain and simple. That is it. I thank everyone for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share us throughout your social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, if you said something that's interesting and want to check, whatever you do, please send your correspondences with decorum. Furthermore, I'll be leaving all my social media sites and link to American Free Press with some of the titles I've read on my Spreaker page, okay? Once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that demoniac resistance, hunting for the soul, can liberate humanity. Before I say everything else, I want to play a cool little song by Bloodclot. It's off of Metal Blade Records, and the late Todd Youth was playing guitar. It was entitled Kill the Beast. I'd like to dedicate this to the globalists, including John Bolton. Alright? Once again, always remember that demoniac resistance, hunting for the soul, can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves, keep on spreading the love, and may your guardian spirits be with you, and enjoy the tune.